Selwyn here from WynnStrength.com. On this video, I'll be bringing you the 9th week of the training vlog. We've taken quite a bit of a derivation away from the Barbell Medicine strength template, where we're just using the structure of that and we're kind of building up extra work on top of that in order to take advantage of the shelter-in-place order. We have a couple more free hours in the day than normally, so probably not recommended if you are trying to stack extra work on top of your regular workload. But when you do find yourself with some free time, why not add in some extra work there? So 9th week's going well, a little bit of ups and downs. So we did hit a PR rep for the squat, so we're now able to squat 475 pounds with a regular barbell. But we did see some drops in the deadlift, bench press, and overhead press, which I'll get to when we start rolling that training footage. But we are seeing increases in the volume side of that work. So no gains in the single rep maxes, but we're seeing a lot of gains in the, progressive gains in the volume and hypertrophy style back off sets there. So kind of thinking about where this will lead to, we had middle of the program, we saw a lot of increases in 1 rep max strength with a little bit of a trailing increase in the volume work. Now we're not seeing as many increases in that volume work, I think, as we pushed quite hard for those 1 rep maxes. And now, funnily enough, when we're actually doing a lot of extra work, we're seeing slight drops, ever so slight drops in the 1 rep max strength, but a lot of that steady gain in progress on those volume work. So we're talking sets of 5 and under. We're actually seeing some increases in the weights being pushed, as well as doing that for sets across. So we're getting a lot of tonnage into the program here. So something to think about there. There's always that trade-off between intensity and volume. We can't always hit heavy weights consistently. Otherwise, obviously, I'll talk about it in the rollover on the voiceover footage. But if we could just keep increasing weight every single week, then we're all going to be deadlifting, bench pressing, and squatting thousands and thousands of pounds, because we would just keep linearly adding weight, which isn't possible. So we have to kind of balance that out. And the other path to strength is volume. So by adding in extra volume, we're adding in that time and attention, adding in that stress, building up hypertrophy, building up muscle mass. So that's one way. There's 2 paths to the same destination, obviously. And with the additional work that I'm adding in there, I'm trying not to add in, obviously, squat, bench, dead, overhead press, because they're already being taxed quite heavily. What we're doing is adding in work that doesn't necessarily get done. So my Olympic style movements, strongman style lifts, back, arm work, ab work, loaded carries, those type of things. And they're just going to rotate week to week. But again, with the whole volume versus intensity, all those are going to be very volume focused, just because we need to draw that balance somewhere. I can't be doing 1 rep maxes of every single lift every single day, every single week, just because that's going to stress the body too much, and we're not going to find as good of a progress doing lifts that way. No one really trains that way. You're not like, I'm going to do heavy single squats every single day, month after month, year after year, and I'm going to be huge gains. That's kind of not how programming works. That's really not how the best way to adapt strength gains in the body. So we have to do different style lifting for programming. That's what programming structure, and that's what programming itself falls into place. So when you are developing your own program, think about those different factors. Obviously, you have to drive up 1 rep max strength, so we do have to practice those heavy singles, but we also have to throw in some other styles, other reps and set ranges. So we're not just doing 1 heavy single and then calling it a day. Otherwise, that's all training would be. I just go to the gym, squat heavy once, and then I would expect my squat to increase every single week. That's not how it works. We need to throw in volume. We need to throw in accessory movements. We need to throw in other exercises that'll strengthen other parts of the body. So when we look at it with that lens, and this is where it helps to really learn more about programming. What are the factors that go behind driving up strength? What are the factors that go behind driving hypertrophy? And when we learn more about those things, we have more tools, and we have the strategies, tactics, and ways to drive those up, because it's not as simple as lifting heavy things. We have to take a bit more of a structured, tailored, specified approach, and then we dial down further, and then what works best for you as an individual. We know what will work as a average, I guess, for everybody. You can have general strength training programs that'll work for almost everybody, but then we want to be above average and get in some extra work that's more tailored to us. We have to look into our own training history, our own training preferences, our own resources available to us. So if you can only lift for 30 minutes every other day, then there's no point looking at a program that's going to take 2 hours. If we have access to 2 hours every day, there's no point looking at a program that's only 30 minutes 3 times a week. So things like that, everybody's going to be different. Everyone's circumstances are going to be unique to their own. So when you get templates, when you get coaching, make sure that it's somewhat tailored to you or somewhat in line with your goals, your availability, and your personal tastes and preferences. I'm not going to do marathon training because I'm not interested in running a marathon, but I'm also not going to do, say, a CrossFit style workout because that's not what interests me. If we go down to the barbell sports, I'll pick powerlifting, strongman style lifting templates that are really going to be more in my preference and what I favor to do more. So with that, I will throw over to the training roll and some voiceover. So here we go. So here we go, starting off the week with a new PR, 475 pounds for a 10-pound increase on the squat. Pretty stoked with that. The squat's kind of been stalling out for a while now, but I'm pretty stoked to see the squat going up by 10 pounds, which is pretty awesome. So we had some good depth there, some good speed coming up. The balance stayed good. I think that work with SS yoke is really helping that back stay a bit more tight and more tense during the lift, so there's no hip shooting up before the upper back shoots up, which I think is a good thing, just because you aren't losing any power transfer there. So ideally, you would see the back move in one big unit. If you do see your hips shoot up before your upper back shoots up, if you're not used to that, there's a tendency for you to get stapled over there, so you probably have to work on some lower back strength. And then just the back off sets, 395 pounds for sets of 4. So again, also a rep PR as well. So we have 205 pounds for our top set with the overhead press, closer to RPE 9.5. And again, we're experiencing that vagling out, or that almost blacking out section after those heavy overhead presses. And I experienced this a couple months ago when the weights were getting heavy in the heavy singles, but at a lighter weight. So now when you're moving heavier weights, it's kind of sticking along with me whenever I get close to the max with an overhead press. So here we have volume work at 175 pounds for sets of 4. No vagling out here, so that's a good thing, I think. Both sets of 4 and working on that rep, working on that volume. And it's great that we're pushing up the rep work, we're getting heavier without experiencing that vagling out. So I think it is once you get close to those single rep maxes there. And then we have some chin-ups with the fat bar version of the post. So again, I like to use a fat bar grip now just to add in that extra grip training. Here we have pause bench press, our bench press accessory of the week. And again, we're doing this with 275 pounds for sets of 4. And I like to keep these with a slight touch on the chest. We're not really wanting to sink the barbell into the chest. We're wanting to think of just touching the shirt. That way we're really making sure the chest, the triceps, everything stays locked in. And I think that's the biggest point of having that pause bench press there, is to make sure that everything stays tight and tense under load. And here we have some ped laborers, slightly stricter. Now we're doing higher reps, so 165 pounds. Nothing heavy, but we did want to get some volume there. We have day 2, starting off with some practice with the clean. So we're actually doing hang cleans this week. And I think I did about 50 reps. Probably 50 to 60 reps of just hang cleans at various weights. This was our heaviest weight that I did. We did this for 15 reps, 3 sets of 5. And again, it's not always about heavy weights in the gym, especially if you're trying to work on technique. This is a lift that I'm not that competent with. So I am wanting to drive up that muscular familiarity. These lifts look ugly right now compared to what they could look like. And I think they could go a lot heavier. As it stands, I can overhead press more than I can power clean. So there's a significant lack in strength of the power clean there. So it's something I've really been wanting to work on in this training block, amongst all the other things. So we just supersetted that with some ab wheel rollouts and some pull-ups. These are some weighted pull-ups. We just stuck with 10 pounds for sets of 5, nothing crazy. And then I thought this was a cool grip exercise, like a bar hang on the safety pins. So you notice that the safety pin is a sheet of metal that rolls around the actual pin itself. So it adds that instability, and it really makes you not able to over grip the barbell. Here we have day 3, starting off with a deadlift here. This is 520 pounds. You'll notice the setup isn't that great. The hip shoot up first, and we fail. So just like anything, strength isn't that linear, so we had to stick with our top set here at 495 pounds. Again, 20 pounds shy of my current rep max, my current single rep max. So it is what it is. Strength isn't going the way I wanted it to. And here we have a top bench press for the week, 315 pounds. You'll have to excuse the weird weights that are being loaded there, because I am running out of 45-pound plates and they're hard to come by right now. So we're doing a mixture of 35, 25s, and 5 pounds in order to get that 3 45-pound weight there. Here we have our volume work, which is deadlifts for 435 pounds for sets of 4. So this is an increase over last week. Again, this is a new rep PR at this rep range. So even though the single reps aren't creeping up, the 4 reps, and this is 4x4, so this is reps across at 435 pounds, and we're sticking with that weight. So I think that's a great result there, and these are going to hopefully lead to drives up in the single rep max. Here we have a bench press work at 275 pounds for sets of 4, and these are feeling great. This is increased weight at the same reps over last week, so the singles for the bench press and the deadlifts aren't going up, but our rep maxes are. So I think that's a great thing to look at there. Sometimes you're not always going to get that 1 rep PR week after week. We saw, I think, 3 straight weeks of increasing that PR. So I think it's about time that stopped, just because I don't think that's possible, simply because if that were the case, everyone would be deadlifting 1,000 pounds by now. So here we have our accessory squat work, pause squats with the SS yoke bar. Again, I did no knee wraps, no belt. No belt is the biggest thing here. That's not really a pause. Look at it. 1, 2, yeah, that's like a 1 count pause. So something I need to work on in the future. Here we have day 4, starting off here with our top set of weighted chin-ups, 60 pounds for reps of 5. So a significant increase in the weight from earlier in the week, but we are doing the chin-up variant and a slightly narrower grip, so we're able to get a bit more mechanical advantage in this lift. I do like the weighted chin-ups there, just because they do tax the back in a nice way. They kind of stretch the back out too, and the chin-up version is a great way to add in some bonus bicep work. Here we have some skull crushers with 85 pounds for sets of 12. Wanting to keep that volume up, just because I wasn't in the rack. Not really going heavy with the tricep work this week, more just getting some more volume and hypertrophy in there to kind of give the triceps a break from the heavy work they're doing with the bench pressing and overhead pressing. So you have to think about that with your extra additions or your programming. You can't do heavy in all the lifts all the time. You're going to have to figure out a balance and look at what your priorities are and figure out ways to stress the body without using heavy weights every single time. So that's where I pop out here with reps of 12, so relatively high reps with a relatively lighter weight than probably what I could handle if I wanted to do a 1 rep skull crusher max, which I probably don't want to do. So here we have push pressing with 185 pounds for sets of 8, broken down into 6 reps and 2 reps, just because I couldn't quite get those 8 continuous reps. Again, this is a great accessory movement for the overhead press, just because it does allow you to keep that stability in that top position there. So we are getting a lot of leg drive. You notice I don't really catch the weight
my arms don't really see the heavy weight until right about there where you see that pause. So because we're not really pushing the weight up with our shoulders, this wouldn't be a good strength development if you're having problems off the chest on the overhead press. If you're having problems towards the top where the lockout is hard, this is a great accessory movement for that, because you'll see that when that weight slows down, that's really when my shoulders start to take on that brunt of the weight there. So when it's at the bottom, there's really no shoulder work there, just stabilizing the weight. So think about that with your own thing. If you're having problems off the chest, look at other accessory movements for the overhead press that will target that lower part of the press. Here we have some dumbbell curls, because dumbbells. And here we have some hanging shrugs. I kind of like these as an extra grip workout, as well as an extra back workout. You can superset these with chin-ups for a great pump, but I just like these to stretch the lats out and to stretch the spine out. Here we have last day of the week, day 5, pin squats with the SS yoke barbell. Here's our top set at 355 pounds for a single. That was good, felt great coming up. Again, with the pin squat, you don't want to bounce the barbell off the pins, you want it to come to a somewhat of a rest, and then fire up. Make sure to keep tension in the lower part, don't relax at the bottom. So there, I kind of bounce until the barbell comes to a stop, and then shoot up. So you want to remove any momentum, any stretch reflex that you might have, and you also want to not have any rebound from the actual pins. And not only does that help you with the lifts, it also saves your equipment. Don't bounce the barbells off the pins, just as that'll ruin everything, the barbell and the pins, and you're gonna have to buy some more new stuff, which no one wants to do. And here we have pin benching. Again, just like the pin squat, you want to rest that barbell on the pins and not bounce it up. Here we have 2-inch deficit deadlifts. This is our top single at 405 pounds. Sorry, this is a set of 4. And that was my grip giving up. I was shooting for double overhand grip there. One day I'll get a 405 pound deadlift with double overhand grip, but until that day comes, we're gonna have to switch to alternate grip. So the deadlift, the deficit is a great way to add some range of motion. So instead of mechanically advantaging the deadlift so we can lift heavier, we're actually disadvantaging it by a couple of inches here. And again, you don't want to have too high of a deficit, otherwise your deadlift body mechanics will shift to a completely different movement and won't help that much with the deadlift. And this is a great movement for helping with strength off the floor, because we are extending that range. And when you do get to the regular deadlift off the floor, it should feel a lot shorter, since you've already been there. Almost like if you full squat for a lot and then you half squat, the half squat should feel slightly easier and you'll be able to train up to heavier weights there. That's a theory anyway. So here we have the reps, the volume work for the pin bench press. That was 265 pounds, sorry, for a set of 3. And here we have 250 pounds for the set of 3. We had to back off a little bit and just work with those safety pins there to make sure that where your chest touches it, your pins touch at the same time, or as close to you can as possible, just so you get that full range of motion there.
And that'll wrap up the 9th week of training for the training vlog. Stay tuned next week to see how the 10th week goes and to see if we make any more progress on those heavy singles, or if we keep making that steady progress with those volume work there. This has been Selman from WynnStrength, and remember, a better life through strength.